when you look at the glittering skyline of Accra, Ghana, what do you see? You probably see progress, growth, and a whole lot of promise. But what if I told you that behind the shiny facade of some of those luxury high-rises lies a shadowy multi-million-dollar secret? Well, a startling new report suggests just that. Let's dig in.
Okay, let's start with a number, $48.8 million. It's not the price tag for a new skyscraper, and it's not the city's budget for a year. According to the watchdog group Global Financial Integrity, this is the estimated amount of dirty money that was washed clean through Ghanaian property deals in just under a decade. The real question is, how is something on this scale even possible? So, just as a quick refresher, money laundering is all about taking cash from illegal activities and making it look totally legit. And you know, one of the oldest tricks in the book is to pour that money into something big, tangible, and expensive, like real estate. A luxury apartment isn't just a place to live. For some, it's a state-of-the-art washing machine for criminal cash.
Now, we're getting all of this from a really detailed report by the Washington-based group Global Financial Integrity, and it paints a pretty alarming picture of how Ghana, a country known for its stability, is seeing its booming real estate sector become a magnet for illicit funds. And look, this isn't just about driving up housing prices. This kind of activity can seriously undermine the rule of law and even tarnish the country's reputation on the world stage. It's a big deal.
So, how exactly are people pulling this off? Well, the report lays out a very clear playbook, almost like a step-by-step guide for deception that seems to be working incredibly well in Ghana's current market. Let's break down how it works.
The whole strategy really boils down to 3 core tactics. First, you create anonymous shell companies to hide who the real owners are. Second, you use what are called nominee buyers, friends, relatives, employees, to buy property for you so your name is nowhere on the paperwork. And third, the oldest trick in the book, just use massive stacks of untraceable cash to avoid leaving a paper trail at all.
To see how this works in the real world, let's dive into our first case study. This is a story that involves a massive, infamous scandal in Ghana, and it's the perfect example of how sham businesses can be used to launder money that was stolen from thousands of regular people.
This slide really just lays out the shocking scale of the men's gold scandal. The CEO, a guy known as NAM1, allegedly ran this huge Ponzi scheme that tricked thousands of Ghanaians into giving up their life savings. So where did all that cash go? Well, the report says millions were funneled directly from the victims into buying up prime real estate, basically cleaning the stolen money while absolutely devastating families. But the men's gold scandal is just one part of this puzzle. Our second case study shows us another one of those key tactics from the playbook, the nominee buyer. And this one involves a high-profile political figure and huge amounts of unexplained cash found in a pretty unbelievable place.
This case is just a wild illustration of the problem. You've Cecilia Dapaha, a former government minister, who had to resign after her house helps were accused of stealing over $1 million in cash from her home. The investigation that followed started raising some serious questions, like how her aides could have possibly bought multiple luxury properties. It's a textbook example of how people connected to power can allegedly use associates to hide the real ownership of assets bought with very questionable money.
Now, as if all those traditional methods weren't a big enough challenge, the report points to a new and rapidly growing threat that's making everything even harder to track: the wild, unregulated world of cryptocurrency.
And here's something that might surprise you. Ghana has one of the highest crypto adoption rates in the world. We're talking more than 15% of adults own some kind of digital currency. That widespread use is exactly why it's becoming such a massive blind spot for regulators who are just struggling to keep up.
And here's where it gets really strange. You have this huge tech-savvy population jumping into crypto, but the Bank of Ghana basically says, nope, we don't recognize that as legal money. This creates a complete regulatory black hole. There are no rules, no oversight. It's the Wild West for digital transactions.
The report warns that this situation gives criminals, and I'm quoting here, unprecedented anonymity and speed. They can now turn dirty money into property faster and more secretly than ever. Just imagine someone moving millions in illicit cash into a digital wallet and then buying a luxury apartment with a few clicks, completely sidestepping the banks that are supposed to be flagging this stuff. So you might be thinking, hold on, surely there are laws to stop all this. And you'd be absolutely right. Ghana has passed a ton of legislation. But that brings us to the most baffling part of this whole story, the huge gap between the laws on the books and the reality on the ground. It's a gap you could drive a truck full of dirty money right through.
I mean, on paper, it looks pretty good.
Between 2019 and 2022, Ghana passed a whole series of reforms: a new Companies Act, a powerful anti-money laundering act, even a real estate agency act, which led to a whole new council to police the industry. Sounds impressive, right?
But then this chart shows you the cold, hard reality. While the bar for laws passed is way up there, just look at the others. That Real Estate Agency Council that was set up in 2022, it has yet to issue a single license to a single agent. And get this, between 2016 and 2019, only two suspicious transaction reports were filed from the entire real estate sector. The enforcement is just not there.
The investigative journalist Tom Burgess really just sums it up perfectly. He says, this is a regulatory system that exists more in theory than in reality. The laws are there, but without anyone to enforce them, they're just words on a page. And that leaves the door wide open for dirty money to pour in.
So what's the way out of this mess? Well, the report doesn't just diagnose the problem. It also offers a really comprehensive set of solutions, a roadmap really, to reclaim the sector and bring back some transparency.
And the recommendations are really clear and practical. First, you've got to fully activate the Real Estate Agency Council and let it do its job. Second, enforce the rules so we know who really owns every property. Third, make political figures publicly declare their assets. That's a huge step for accountability. And of course, you've got to create actual rules for crypto and protect the whistleblowers who are brave enough to report shady deals. Each of these steps is crucial to closing the loopholes that criminals are just walking right through.
And that brings us to the final question. There's no doubt that Ghana's real estate boom is being fueled by legitimate ambition and real growth. But without a serious overhaul of its regulatory system, the very buildings that symbolize all that progress risk becoming monuments to financial crime. So can Accra's skyline become a symbol of transparency and not just growth? The answer to that is really going to determine the future of Ghana's economic integrity.